Greetings and welcome to part 3 of Sea of Life's Plastic Stewards curriculum. My name is Natalie Malis, one of the 2 founders of Sea of Life, and I will be leading us through part 3 of your course entitled Inspired Solutions. First, let's review what you have learned so far in the SOL plastic curriculum. In part 1, we learned a brief history of plastics. In part 2, we covered the current state of the plastics crisis. And now in part 3, we are going to learn of a real-world example of a locally inspired solution to tackle plastic pollution. I would like to introduce to you Monique Vernon, the founder of Mr. Gobi and Friends. Today, we are going to learn about this initiative, its inspiration, and its impact on plastic pollution in Belize. Greetings, Monique. It's so nice to have you with us today. And since part 3 of our course is focused around inspired solutions, let's start off by asking what inspired you to begin Mr. Gobi and Friends? And then if you could tell us a little bit about the mission.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here and teach the world solutions of plastic pollution. So I became a plastics pollution steward simply through love and passion for my community and for Mother Nature. With those 2 combinations, I started volunteering with NGOs throughout since past 15 years. And eventually I started kayaking over to Placense Key, where I noticed there were a huge amount of trash everywhere around the key. And I just started picking them up as I went over. And it became a thing that I would do every week. And I would invite other people from the village to join me. Unfortunately, it wasn't as successful in the beginning, but I still continued to do so. And that led me to start my Mr. Gobi and Friends recycling project, collecting plastic bottles and plastic bottle caps to help promote proper waste management of plastic pollution. So that would mean reducing plastic pollution waste, increasing awareness and getting community collaboration, and also promoting affordable, sustainable, eco-friendly solutions.
Well, I think that it's an excellent example of a truly inspired solution. I'd love to hear more about how you started Mr. Gobi and Friends, and in particular, how you almost single-handedly were inspired to start this initiative, and you started it and in such a short period of time have made such an impact on the community. Can you share a little bit about how it was starting something by yourself?
Yes, I have always wanted to give back to my community in some way, shape, or form. And when I attended World Merit Summit in the UK back in 2018, I was focusing on SDG 14, which is protecting life underwater. And so I was browsing through the internet and I came across a Gobi bin from India that someone had created. And I thought that was genius. And I just wanted to introduce it to my community, especially because we live on a peninsula, so we're surrounded by water. And so we depend heavily on our marine ecosystem. And so I brought that idea here. I was super excited to get it done. I contracted a local welder to help me get it done, and the community loved it. They started donating monies towards making more, and that's where we are now.
I think that's fantastic of your ability to be able to see something somewhere else and tailor it to your local community's needs. And I think as well, so many people, they might see something that inspires them, but they think, oh, we don't have the resources, I don't have a team, I may not have the funding. But I think Mr. Gobi and Friends is a great example of how you have been able to really be inspired from something that you saw away, come and bring that back to your local community. And you started it pretty single-handedly and have now gained support and momentum. But I think it's a great example for people who might be a little bit shy or not think that they have the tools or the capacity to start their own initiative or solution. And I think that Mr. Gobi and Friends is a great example of that. If you want something, if you're inspired by it, that you can make a difference.
I absolutely agree. I will be honest, I was very anxious or nervous about how I could make this happen. And so I quit my job and I paid out of my pockets the first recycling bin. Had to make it happen somehow, and it had to start with someone. So I started it, I paid for it out of pocket. I asked the village council if they would be in support of me putting out on the beach. They were very happy with it, and I can't say it has been a smooth ride for sure. I had to figure things out on the way, but I would not discourage anybody who has an idea or a passion that they like to follow. I'd say jump on it. There's not really a reason to wait on anything. I know a lot of people would say, oh, but I don't have X, Y, and Z resources right now. Honestly, take it step by step. You don't have to have everything all at the same time to start something.
I think that's a great point, Monique, not needing everything to get started. And do you have any advice for those that might want to start their own initiative or implementing their own solution?
I like to advise folks to get out there and volunteer. Educate yourself, learn about things that's happening in this world. Or you could follow your own passion. What do you truly love? Because at the end of the day, you can't go wrong following your passion. Listen to the needs of the community. There's always something that the community needs. Or you could also participate in public events. Just get yourself out there and see what you can do for others.
I think that's another great point, because often people might not say, well, I'm not going to quit my job and dedicate my whole life necessarily to combating plastic, but the volunteering and the other options that people have, even if they just want to start assisting, I think do exist. And maybe you don't have to quit your job and maybe start a whole life new passion, but simply volunteering, or if you're in Belize, getting involved with Mr. Gobi and Friends or other initiatives, and supporting initiatives that are already ongoing. Is a great idea.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. What have you seen in terms of community support? I know that you mentioned that the local government supported, but what about people? Do you think that Mr. Gobi and Friends is really making an influence in educating people on plastic pollution?
Yes, when I first started, I used to hear a lot of comments by locals, people from here saying, oh, but why are you doing that? It's gonna be there again tomorrow. What's the point? It's useless. And I always try to let folks know that it's like a butterfly effect. One small action can lead to a massive result. And so when I started this whole Mr. Gobi and Friends, I had kids or schools coming down, and I gave presentations of how Mr. Gobi, or in the photo right here, we named him. So this is Mr. Wally. And he collects the plastic bottles so that the fishes in the ocean don't have to eat them. And this is one of the big, we also give one of our recycling bins to the primary schools. And let me tell you, it was such a success. I took it there one morning. I forgot to bring something, went home. In less than an hour, the bin was half full. It was insane. And the kids, the one that I had on the beach, the kids immediately starting scouting for plastic bottles. They wanted so badly to just put a bottle in Mr. Gobi or Mr. Wally. And so that made me realize that the kids are actually having a blast with this. And so I have a lot of photos of kids participating in our cleanups. We even have an ambassador because I don't really know the kid personally, but he's always there bringing his bottles to Mr. Wally, telling other kids, well, this is what you do, and this is where you can find them. So it's very inspirational seeing the kids teach other kids. And so that makes me know that I have to continue.
That's fantastic. And it's wonderful to hear that community support, but then also to see the change in the community support, because I feel like often we are surrounded by those that say, well, why care? Why do my part? It's just going to end up there tomorrow. So I think that that's wonderful. Mr. Gobi and Friends is an excellent example of slowly building that change in communities through initiatives like this.
I think people should start caring more though about plastic pollution, because while it seemed like it's not your problem or my problem, at the end of the day, it's everyone's problem. Plastic pollution is widespread and it's a global issue, and it affects the ocean's health, it affects human health, it affects food safety and quality. It affects the health of our marine species, coastal tourism, and it also contributes to climate change, which we can now see with the intensive storms and flooding and disease outbreaks and whatnot. So yes, we all should care about plastic pollution.
Absolutely. And thank you for really driving that point home of why these solutions are implemented. At the end of the day, it's to combat plastic pollution and mitigate the effects against us and our communities and our earth. So thank you so much, Monique, for your time. Thank you, Mr. Gobi, for your efforts to combat plastic pollution and your inspired solutions. Thank you, participants, for completing part 3 of the Sea of Life Plastic Stewards course.
Thank you, Natalie. I just wanted to thank you as well for having us. It is our pleasure to be here, and I hope that through this course, we're able to show others what they can do and bring out their inspiration and their passion in solving plastic pollution.
Thank you, Monique. And as always, in every part of our course, we always end on a reflection that we hope that you can think about before your next course and throughout the rest of your day. The reflection for this course is, what inspires you? Do you feel inspired to create solutions to plastic pollution? Thank you, and I'll see you in our next course.